Welcome to Boxing on the Record with Shot-Town and Randy. Shot-Town, what's going on with you today, man?
Man, Randy, I think it's about sometime back, could have been a couple of months ago. I just really can't, get the exact date. Actually, it was in September. There's a YouTuber named Robert Newman who did an interview with Jermall Charlo at the NABF conference. And in that interview, Jermall Charlo stated that he had moved, MOVED, to Pensacola, Florida to train with Roy Jones Jr. And I got to tell you, I definitely understand a person trying to get to an area of solitude where they kind of get away from everything, street life, and influence of family, and all this other things that are negative, and get to a place of serenity. I'm saying that because Roy Jones was initially trained by his daddy, and they had chickens. They lived on a farm or whatever, however they lived. They lived a very lackluster, slow motion life, and Roy had a different perspective on certain things. And so I can initially see the argument from Mal Charles saying, hey, listen, I need to leave the big city life. I need to leave all that stuff and kind of go, sort of like Rocky, go where I can get to my foundation, where I can start now just kind of healing, mentally, emotionally healing, and then kind of start working on my craft a little bit more. Even though they don't have the warehouse with frozen meats there, and Paulie's not there to egg him on, a blessed memory. Um, but he did state that's why he went there. And I'm going to tell you, Randy, for me, worst move ever. Worst move. And I got to be clear, Roy Jones was my favorite fighter of the 90s. Roy Jones was practically unstoppable. So if I say all that stuff about Roy Jones, I hold him in high regard. And I actually had have Roy Jones on my pound for pound all time list. So how could I have a person that's on my pound for pound all time list and then turn around and say that it's the worst decision a person can make to go and learn with from them, to go train with them, to spend time and have that person perfect your craft? How could I say something like that? Well, I say it because Roy Jones is a basic, BASIC, a basic boxer. There's nothing outstanding about Roy Jones' boxing ability. In these areas, we would call his boxing ability trash. Obviously, I have sentimental value. I would never call it trash, but I would definitely say that he's borderline D plus as far as boxing skills are concerned. The reason why Roy Jones was a phenom is because he was blessed with insane reflexes and insight. Like with insight, I mean vision, being able to see stuff before they even occur. That's something that is like a gift when he's able to do that, especially when he was younger. The problem is he relied on all of that athleticism, and that being able to see stuff for him at that time was strictly based off of his athleticism. The way that he moved around the ring, and all these different things that had to do with his muscle fibers and him being a young person, having certain levels of reflexes. And in your eyeball, we do have muscles in the eyeball. So his eyeball had those young muscles in them as well. Those young muscles were able to move at astronomical speeds. Young muscles were able to see things before they ever arose, before they ever came. But when Roy Jones aged, going up, coming down, but when he aged, those muscles began to get older, because that happens to all of us. Those muscle fibers begin to dissipate. And so you can't move like you used to move. You can't see things the way you used to see things before. And so I set out to say that Roy Jones relies strictly on his God-given talent, his God-given gifts, and not on boxing itself. Had he focused on boxing itself and perfected all of these flaws he makes in boxing, then I would probably support this Mal Charlo move over there. But Roy Jones never did that, and with him not doing that, it makes him a trash trainer. I love him. I would love to meet him and hang out with him, but don't train me, and don't go further and talk to me about boxing or anything. Every person that Roy Jones, not everyone, but majority of people that Roy Jones has so-called tried to train, many of them tried to adopt his style, and they all lost. They all lost. Most of them lost. That's what I'm gonna say. Most of them lost. Yeah, Roy Jones is not the guy you need when you're trying to make a comeback. What you got on all this stuff, Randy?
Man, you left it hard for me, man. Because because you, I mean, you just knocked it out the park. If the base was loaded, I think that would have been a grand slam because I mean, you hit every point and didn't leave no meat on the bone. So I guess I got to chew on the gristle until we can get out of here.
You wow, man. You
um,
you wow.
yeah. I will say to start off with, for my disclaimer, that Roy Jones is one of my best fighters, my favorite fighters. When I seen Roy fight, man, I think he took the game to another level, and I haven't seen many people as great as Roy. So he's definitely in my forever top fighters. But I must say it, as you said, that he got by on his athleticism. And like I said, the only thing about the athleticism is it's for kids. It only work when you're young. You know, on the basketball court, you can juke because you're young, but the older you get, you slow down. People able to calculate your move. People able to be at the spot where you thinking about being. The younger man is always there before you get there. So I think that's also what happened to Roy. Um, I'm a strong believer in that just because you're a great fighter don't make you a great trainer. Um, it's a lot of people that has the ability to do something but don't have the necessary skills or the know-how to teach somebody else to do it because a lot of time it be God-given talent. So if it's God-given talent, you don't even know why you do it or how you do it. You just know you can do it, and it cannot be explained. You cannot duplicate that through someone else. Um, um, as good as people say Mike Tyson was, and a kind of big difference on that. That's a whole nother subject. I don't think he's great as a trainer. He can teach you some things. He can tell you what he used to do, and I don't think he can actually uh, help you to execute that. I mean, most people' favorite fighter, uh, um, Floyd Mayweather. I don't think he's a great trainer at all. I mean, he was a great fighter, but I don't think he's a great trainer. So as I said, I don't think just because you're a great fighter gonna make you a great trainer. And like you were saying, with going back to the roots, I mean, you can go to a place even if it was greatness born there. It could be like lightning striking. It's good for that time. It was lightning striking the right place at the right time. So lightning might not strike in Pensacola, Florida, for Maul like it did for Roy Jones. So that's pretty much all I have on that, man. Because like I said, you took all the meat off the bone.
Randy, you said something that needs to be said again. Just because you're a good or tight, amazing, beautiful, whatever you want to call it, fighter, that does not mean you're a great trainer. Does not mean that at all. And I'm gonna give a couple of examples, just real fast, real fast. Freddie Roach, who the reason why he does have all, shake him up, Freddie. The reason why he has these issues now because he was a trash fighter. He stood out there with just getting the mess beat out of him regularly in the 80s, and then he realized, okay, this is for me. But he does have the insight to be able to train somebody to think a certain way, to do things a certain way. He just didn't have the physicality to do it all himself, or the ability to do it all himself. Who's another person? Who's another person? Emmanuel Stewart. No, I mean, obviously his name is sacred, of blessed memory, all these types of things, but nobody remembers the fact that Emmanuel Stewart himself actually was a boxer. He's a pro boxer. Many of us never saw his fights, but he got out of it quick. After losing so many times, I think he lost. I wouldn't even want to bring up his record without looking at Box Rec or something else that can give me his whole record. But he had something like, I'm hypothetically saying, but it was like 10 wins and three. I'm sorry, 10 losses with only 3 wins or something. Some tracks like that. He had a horrible record. Could have been 0-3. And he's like, I'm done with this. This ain't for me. But he had the insight. He had the view. He had the knowledge to train other people so that they could become champions. So you're absolutely right. And then some of the cats that actually were good fighters who ended up being good trainers. Again, they're in the minority. Someone like Buddy McGirt. I like Buddy McGirt as a trainer. Derek James. And I'm always, whenever I bring this name up, I'm always going to have to acknowledge the fact that my cousin, my blood relative, Joe the Sledgehammer Lipsy Jr., gave Derek James his first professional loss. Period. Nothing else to be said about that. So everything you're saying, Randy, I think is correct. And yeah, there's nothing else to add to this topic.
Yeah. With my closing, I'm gonna say this, and then we're out of here. I think a lot of times the fighters that shine like a Roy Jones and a Floyd Mayweather, they was made to box. They was built to box, and that was their calling. But I think a lot of fighters that wanted to box and had the desire to box, but didn't have the skills or the talent to box, they was made to coach. And with that being said, we're out of here like last year.
Peace.